All right. I'm just going to wait another minute to make sure. Assuming that everybody got Mary's message about the new address and hopefully got a chance to check it out. And the way we want to handle this webinar is kind of answer any questions you have about the website.
Okay.
Has everybody gone, this is Mary, have you had a chance to check out the new website, the democat.einetwork.net?
Hi. Yes, I have, and some of our staff has.
Okay.
We like it. We think there are a lot of good things. We do have some questions.
Okay.
One has to do with the initial results screen. You know, I type in the title of the book. I come up with those initial results. And I think I understand that if I am using a Monroeville computer, if Monroeville has that book, the call number will appear as well as some kind of a message saying that it's available at Monroeville. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So one question is, suppose Monroeville does not own that book. I understand what will appear there? In lieu of the call number available at Monroeville, what am I likely to see if Monroeville does not own that book?
June, since you worked
You
on that
would
one.
see something like, are you talking about if the user is in the Monroeville library?
Yes.
Okay. So you would see something like available at other libraries.
Okay.
Or if there's a hold queue, it would say, you know, X number of people, you know, waiting for X number of copies.
Okay. Good. Will a
Now,
call number
if you're
appear?
in the library, no. If you're in the library and there's an available copy in the library, it will say it's here followed by the call number.
Wonderful. But if it's not here, if Monroeville doesn't own that, then no call number will appear.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Very good. We like that. Good.
Good.
All right.
Marlene, did you have other questions?
Somewhere we saw buy a copy. I don't think it was on that initial screen. I think it was when we went into a record. And so the question is, what is that going to link to?
Is that the Overdrive? June?
No, I think that links to Amazon, and that's certainly optional.
Yeah, that may or may not be something that we do in our initial implementation, but it is a standard feature of the libraries who were working on ViewFind Plus earlier. It's kind of like suggest a purchase, and they actually really had quite an administrative process behind that. You know, where there are staff screens and libraries can decide to actually make that order and so on.
Okay, so it's a standard feature at this point. You haven't decided if you're going to use that or not. Do I understand correctly?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. No other questions? A comment? We really like that go deeper. On some of the screens, it's possible to get more information about the book. You've got a little arrow pointing the book. It says go deeper. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, right. You can see it on the screen now.
Okay. We like that a lot. We like the wording. We like where it's located. It was possible to get some of that information on our other catalogs, but it wasn't so obvious. So that's a plus. We like it.
It's sort of like a more info.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
do we want to review maybe some of the questions that another person had sent to us from their library who wasn't able to be on the call, and maybe just talk a bit about those features?
Actually, we can, and that sort of brings us to something else. Just as a reminder, we did receive some questions. Actually, they came from Upper Sinclair. Helen Pelisak is on the Next Generation Court group. She's a participant as well. So she sent us a list of questions, and we can talk about those in a second, but we are going to be using those questions to start to create an FAQ and make it available on the NGC project page. And just as a reminder, we're going to have both of the webinars up this week, and we'll be sending out a notice to members about this new information that's going to be available on the NGC page. So we got probably 5 or we actually got 7 questions from I'm getting technical difficulty. Can you hear me now? I don't want to be too loud. Can you hear me now?
Mary, I can hear you. It's not very clear.
I've got these new headphones, these super duper headphones. What about now? Can you hear me?
That's better.
Okay, I've moved the microphone. This name's so loud. Okay. So again, we received a number of questions from Upper St. Clair, and if you want, we can kind of go over those questions for you right now. We are going to make them available on the NGC page later this week with the answers. It's going to be part of an FAQ, an ongoing FAQ. So feel free to tell your library staff, send your questions, use the form on the NGC project page, or send them an email if that works better for you. Okay?
Okay.
One of the questions that we received so far is, will an account login be required at the library OPAC-only stations? This will be onerous for anyone doing a quick call number lookup, and staff are not going to like this. And the answer to that question is no. The catalog-only computers using the NGC as the default user interface, they won't be required to have a login, although patrons will be able to access My Account from the NGC page just like they do from the Classic Catalog or Catalog Explorer page. Okay?
So, and I think this is Rebecca, we ultimately think that patrons will prefer to log in,
right,
because all of their preferences are going to be saved with their My Account information. What are their preferred pickup locations, their preferred filters, and so I think it's our expectation that ultimately patrons will prefer to log in, but that won't be a requirement at catalog-only workstations.
Another question that we received is, will a patron be able to save login information and automatically connect from their personal device? There is a mobile catalog interface, but customization is not, of that particular feature, is not part of Sprint 1. Okay, so we want to sort of make you aware of that. We know that it's important to move the catalog to an open source platform so we can create apps and do things like that for mobile devices, because this is something we currently can't do with the IIIS system. But again, that's not going to be part of Sprint 1. Another question that we got, and I think this may be related to your question, Marlene, is, will there be a way to limit by location? And we know that there are a number of options that support scoping in ViewFind Plus. We also know that it works differently than it does in Catalog Explorer or the Classic Catalog. And which option that will be used is we're still sort of investigating and exploring that. But we do know that our design has indicated that patrons should have preferred locations and preferred pickup locations that are set sort of in their My Account profile. And so we'll be talking more about the various options and implementation as we sort of move through this. Does that make sense?
Can everyone hear?
I can hear Mary, but I'm missing a lot of what she's saying. It's just not clear.
It must be my. What was that? I heard that.
So the question that she just covered was about, related to your question, Marlene, about scoping within the library. And basically there are a number of different ways to do this, and we're going to talk further about this as we go along here. One of the things that the design firm identified was that patrons want to have preferred locations and have preferred pickup locations. And some of the things that we're going to need to talk about around this is that this appears to be very different than home library or registering library or anything like that. This is going to be patrons setting their own preferences about what are their preferred locations or preferred pickup locations for whatever reason. So I think that there'll be some interesting conversation about that as we go forward. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just changed my headphones. I have them on backwards. Can you hear me better now?
You know, I can't, but I did hear you say that these will all be posted on frequently asked questions.
Okay.
So I'll just plan to look at them there.
Okay. Let's see. Can you limit search to only available copies? That was one of the questions that we also received. It's part of a long-term design, but it won't be available immediately since that's not included in Sprint 1. But I can say this, but as part of Sprint 1, each search will show what's available at the current location and at the patron's preferred locations. Is that coming through? I'm going to hand these questions to somebody else. Okay.
I have them, Mary. You want me to go ahead? So will there be an advanced search option? And the answer to that is yes. There were questions about what's driving the age group limitation. Have you all seen that facet on the left-hand side on age group? Yeah. And there were also a question about what's driving the literary form, and that sometimes it seems to be that there were some incorrect results in that, and there were some specific examples provided. First of all, we're really interested in any kinds of searches that any of you find that don't display the way that you might expect them to work on those facets. But basically that age group information is being pulled from the 006 and 008 fields in the MARC record, target audience, our audience or target audience, and the literary form is being pulled from the MARC 006 and 008 records as well. So really what goes on in those facets is a product of the cataloging record that we have to work with. And there was really some interesting information in some of the patrons that we interviewed and some that our design forms, our design firm people that they talked to about it. Patrons really want this information. Believe it or not, even if it's not 100% accurate. I mean, they'd prefer to be able to limit searches by fiction only or nonfiction only and, you know, have a few stray ones slip through than to never be able to limit by literary form at all. And sort of the same thing with age level. Just don't, I'm only interested in adult materials, or I'm only interested in children materials. And patrons really want the ability to control their search experiment with those kinds of filters, even if occasionally things slip through that are inaccurate. So we're going to sort of make that a part of the message. But also we continue to be interested in examples that any of you see, and using those facets that are not what you'd expect or don't seem to have correct information. And that was it. They were great questions, as were the ones that we got today too. So we certainly want to keep those in front of everybody. Any other questions for today's call?
Not from me.
Becca, are you on? Okay.
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of looking to see who appears on the list,
Yeah.
who's on, see if people are still there.
Yeah. I always mute it so you guys don't have to hear me drink water or something.
Okay.
I think Megan asked a question too, which I just responded to, and that has to do with the overlapping lines that you're seeing on the display.
Yeah.
Is that what yeah. I mean, yes, Megan, we're working on that.
Yeah, that will be fixed.
Okay, great. Because it's kind of hard to read what the results are on the initial results page with that there.
Okay. How about the NGC communication within the library? How's that working for you? How's your staff feeling about this?
My staff's had problems logging in, like their PIN doesn't work. I had the same issue, and I just went into Millennium and reset my PIN and then redid it from the Next Generation catalog. So the two people I had asked to take a look at it before today's meeting, they weren't able to get on. So we're going to reset from there, but that's been the problem, that people's PINs aren't working.
Okay.
Sorry, this was Becca. Sorry.
Anybody else have any comments?
Just that staff is optimistic about this. They like what we see so far.
That's good.
The only other question that I had was, is there going to be like a home button or a start over button when you just want to start new? Because really there's no way to do that at this time that I could find anyways.
That's a good question. Yeah.
At what screen are we talking about? Because if you're in the search results screen, as I am here, I can just search again for anything else I want.
You're always starting over at that place.
Okay. I guess that it's just usually, you're used to, I always click the start over button in the normal catalog. I guess I'll just have to, retrain myself. But I guess, we would know that your search resets at that point, but will the patron?
Well, I think our what the design firm has kind of done with this is to make this work like Google. Every search starts over in Google. So you go to your search box, you're starting over. And then ultimately when we get the patron's personalization features incorporated, where it's memorizing your preferred search filters or your preferred literary forms, if the patron has established those kinds of search filters, those would always be being applied, and they would actually display on the left as well. It would kind of replace. There's a different way that we're going to display the facets that we show now when we're able to kind of enable those things. But as we kind of work our way through us, we're trying to keep everything that is available out of the box in front of you so you don't sort of lose functionality as we start to make modifications to any section. Does that make sense?
I just think that it might be a good idea if we had, like, you know, an EI Network logo or something in that lighter gray box right next to the search, just so that, you know, somebody could click it. Because that's, you know, you're on any website, like a blog, and you know if you click the logo, it's going to bring you back to the homepage. Any sense?
Okay.
Hmm?
Other comments?
I have a question. I apologize if this has been covered because I'm late, but is anyone going to be able to use? Are we going to be able to use the catalog without entering a library card number?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, but right now we can't. Is that what's going on?
Sure you can.
Oh.
You should
What
still
if I
be
do?
able. Yeah, we're using it now and nobody's logged in.
Oh. Because every time I click on it, it asks immediately for my library card number.
If you click on it to place a request or to do things like that, yes, it will prompt you. But go ahead, Roni.
There you
Oh,
go.
so you can search, even though that screen's prompting you for it, you can search without filling that in?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that either.
And then I have one more quick question.
Go ahead.
The rating system, when you're asked to rate a book from 1 star to 5 stars, it seems a little confusing. I think you have to, like I figured if you click on the 5th star, you're giving it 5-star rating, but I guess you have to click on it 5 times to give it a 5-star rating? I don't know, I can't remember which one I tried that finally worked, but it seemed confusing to me.
Okay.
Okay,
Great. That's
well,
good input. Thank you.
yeah, we'll look at that. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Questions?
Okay, well, thanks for everybody's time today. We really appreciate it. And keep sending the questions. We'll get the FAQ in this webinar posted, and we'll talk again in a couple weeks.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.